Hi, my name is Amarachi and I am the founder of Amarachi and Dolo, which is a luxury women and menswear clothing brand, and we are all about storytelling. So I'm really looking forward to meeting the guests that I'll be speaking with. I'm all down for a conversation about fashion, a conversation about Christ at the same time, and sharing our faith. So I think this person will be on the same wavelength as me. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
My name is Dolo and I run a Christian elevated streetwear brand called Baisamonu. Essentially it is menswear, but we do cater to women and make unisex clothing. So from today, from what I've heard, I should be meeting a guest that I don't know, and yeah, it should be a good conversation, and we'll ask each other a couple questions, just get to know each other more, get to know each other's journeys more, and from what I've been told that we have been on similar journeys, similar paths, so it will be nice to meet someone that's quite like-minded and on a similar journey to myself.
Okay, so what does success mean to you?
I think I kind of touched on this earlier, but it's like little wins. Like you have to. One thing I need to do more is celebrate the small wins, celebrate little things. Like even if it's just one order, that one order could be that's the money that can make the new sample,
Yeah.
and that can just go again. Or like for example, I was able to gift James Harden, an NBA basketball player, some clothes, and obviously I know who he is. Like I've known him for like 10 years or so, but well, not known him personally, but known of him for about 10 years or so. And when it's happening, like I'm about to meet him, it's like oh yeah, cool, like this is all right. Like, but then the magnitude of it when now the picture finally came, or someone sent me the picture, the guy that was also with me that day, he just found it on some club promoter's Instagram because James didn't post it himself.
Yeah.
And he sent it to me. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to just post it in a dump, like in the middle of some dump. And then I think I spoke to my friends and my cousin. They were like, what? Like, what are you on about? You're going to post this in some dump? And like, it's just randomly in one
Yeah.
10 pick dump or something. I was like, is it that deep? Like, I didn't know the magnitude of it until they were like, yeah, you need to post this separately. And then I did. And then just like a lot of noise and a lot of traction to the website. And I'm thinking, is it that deep? Like, I guess so, but it's little things like that I need to appreciate because it's bigger than I think it is, or deep it is, and it's just me deep in things and not just like steamrolling through everything. And I just need to look up and appreciate things more.
Yeah.
And those little successes with anything, I just need to appreciate it more. So yeah, just like any order that I do, making a new product, having a new release in itself is a success, because to get it through sampling, to get it through, even just to make the tech pack in itself is long. To negotiate with to find a manufacturer, to negotiate with them, to finally have a great model and great pictures and all of that, and it's a success in itself, regardless if you sell or not. But yeah, little things like that. Essentially, it doesn't have to be some huge like thing. But yeah, what about yourself?
I would agree with the point you made about just the little successes. I think when you're kind of like just tunnel vision, there are big goals that you're trying to reach. But I think for me, it's the little goals that I'm reaching that I try not to dismiss, because it's like where you were in your first year is different to where you are in your third year, you know? And I think even for me, like I remember there's a YouTuber that I would be like, I started watching her, I think when I was like 16. And I had the opportunity to gift her last year, and I'd gone on my girls trip and she posted it the day I came back. And I was just like, it was just mind blowing to me, because this is somebody that I've been watching, but I got to meet her, and it's like certain doors were just opened like that, just naturally. So I think for me, I'm trying to just like take in those small wins, but then also just see how God is moving when it comes to like meeting new people or the orders that are coming through. And like you said, like when you're making a garment, for me, I think how I define success is being able to like receive from God the ideas, but then also share it with others.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say that's how I would define success. and I try to find that in every small thing. So
Yeah. Like, just as you were saying, God giving you the ideas and you to share it with others, if you think about it, to have something in your mind, to then translate that into, I don't know, Photoshop or Illustrator or something, to then translate that into something physical, and the processes all between that, it's actually crazy when you think about it, because it's literally just an idea. Like, I had this jacket, I had the idea in my mind, I didn't act on it for a while, and then eventually I did, and it's like I think it's one of my highest selling products so far. And it's just something I had in my mind that I was kind of a little bit apprehensive to do, and then it took me a while to finally get it out there.
Yeah.
And then eventually when I did, it was just like, it's just incredible to see it in the end and see the response in the end to something I just had in my mind randomly one day.
What makes the British fashion landscape unique?
This is probably more of a streetwear like viewpoint, but well, a little bit kind of not. But for example, a lot of people are in different spaces despite being in similar spaces. For example, you have someone like Bianca Saunders. She's doing something completely different than Skepta with Mains. And then you have someone like, I don't know, Represent, who they're doing something different but similar, obviously, in terms of streetwear to someone like, let's say, like Clint, compared to, let's say, like Arif Ferdis is doing something different than I'm doing. And we're talking to different people. We have different, maybe similar styles of clothes in certain aspects, but we're talking to different people in different segments of different audiences. So as well as like where we've embraced ourselves, it seems like, for example, I relate a lot of fashion to music. So what we saw with music in like, let's say 2015 with like grime, and then eventually like Afro swing becoming big, and we kind of just embraced ourselves. Like, this is, whether it's our heritage or this is just our sound, like we just embraced it rather than sticking to maybe what Americans are doing or whoever else. Like, we're just being ourselves in fashion now. Like, for example, let's say how Clint made all the ski masks and somewhat the baggy like tracksuits. He kind of made that very popular in a few years ago. Like, he didn't get that from anywhere. Like, that's us. Like, it's not some other country or city that was doing that. It was us here in London or us in the UK. So I feel like we're just embracing ourselves, and that's kind of what makes us special.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
I would agree. I think I love how you touched on like the different brands that are out right now. I think everybody has their own perception and perspective that they want to share with others. You mentioned Clint's brand, and the fact that it was like jogging bottoms and hoodies and so forth. And it's like a lot of us grew up just wearing stuff like that. So to be able to have that as adults, you are like reaching different people. I think brands that I can think of now is like Seventh. Seventh is just like chef's kiss. Like their focus is silhouettes.
Yeah.
But not having to think about, it's reaching the person who doesn't want to think about what am I going to wear today.
Yeah.
But they know they have something they can wear today. And then my friend's brand Tolu, like it's very African heritage, but it's very heavy on the narrative of African culture that she wants to share. And I think just how she's done like her collections, I can see the difference between like her brand Tolu Coca and Wells Bonner. Like, I think the British landscape is very broad. Like, there's enough space for everybody to do what they want to do. And I think we're coming to a point where a lot of, especially Black designers and Black businesses are getting that exposure now, where their narratives are very important to share, not just because of Blackness, but the actual designer themselves having a space to share their work. So I think, we're unique. And we're doing well right now. Yeah, we are.
Yeah, like I would wish that within our uniqueness we had the population to kind of feed into it, because like, imagine we had the population of like America, that's over 200 million compared to our like 70.
But
like,
I find that crazy though. Oh.
No, go on.
I find that crazy though, because it's like a lot of Americans are coming here. Like, when I think of London Fashion Week, a lot of like influencers and American celebrities were coming here, and I find that it's almost like when they come here, they leave with a whole new style.
Yeah.
And I love that, because it's like nobody in British culture is restricted to a specific style. Whereas over in America, let's say if Kim K wears a dress, everybody's wearing that dress. There's only one silhouette that exists now, So I think just being able to be like, okay, cool, we may not have their population, but we're still reaching those areas anyway, and we're going to continue to reach different countries.
Yeah, like one of my cousins came from America a couple months ago, like in the summer, and they were saying how they can distinctively tell like how people dress, let's say for example in Texas compared to the UK, like how everyone seems to be fashionable. I was just kind of looking at it like, well, I think we're on Carnaby Street or something. I was just thinking everyone's just dressed normal, isn't it? Like no one's doing too like fashiony kind of stuff. It's just like normal stuff, but they're seeing from their perspective, it's like we're doing a lot, but it's good. If you get what I'm saying, it's not overboard, but it's like everyone's like they're really being what's the word, intentional with what they wear. So yeah, it's good. Do you feel like the fashion industry is collaborative?
Oh. Ooh. If I was to talk on my experiences, yes. I think I've definitely been very privileged to have like collaborative projects and just having people who can see the vision and want to be a part of whatever I'm doing or me being a part of whatever they're doing. I think it comes down to you as an individual in this industry, whether you want to be that kind of person. If you're just solely focused on your own brand and what you're doing, then obviously it's not going to be a collaborative industry for you. But if you are focused on not just yourself winning, but seeing other people win, then the reality that you create as one being in the industry will be collaborative.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of see it.
I would say when I see, let's say, collaborative, the vision I immediately see is, let's say, brands coming together to release one product, like two brands coming to release one or set of products. I'll say in that sense, maybe not so much, but it's more so that we are collaborative with people outside, because it obviously just makes you stretch further. It's just, let's say, again, with music, it's like, I don't know, Central C collaborating with an Italian artist. Like now he's stretching his audience or stretching into someone else's audience and vice versa. But I don't feel like it's a bad thing per se. I think because and again, I'm just talking about, let's say, streetwear, for example, because it's still very young, what we're doing here, or the age of the brands here, or brands that are popping are very young. I see why they'll like do a lot by themselves,
right?
Because they're still trying to establish and build a foundation. Because there's no, like, at least streetwear wise in the UK, there's no brands that, let's say, like Supreme level or Supreme kind of longevity.
Yeah.
When it now gets to that kind of stage, there's going to be a lot of collaborations, because there'll be brands that are younger, brands that are maybe same kind of age but abroad, or same kind of age but still in the UK. So probably not so much, but then I understand why. In terms of outside of design or brands directly, yes, because there's like, for example, like fashion magazines and doing articles on people, or let's say certain, I don't know, production companies working with certain brands or certain bigger brands bringing in smaller brands, stuff like that. But yeah, in short, that's my answer, I guess.
Do you feel like the fashion industry is inclusive?
Well, I wouldn't know how would you define inclusive?
If I'm going by culture standard of inclusive as to, let's just say, from 2020 to now, I would say inclusive it will come up in conversation as like race, culture. But then I think it depends on how you see the industry. Is that the first thing that comes to mind when you think of inclusivity?
I don't know. When I thought inclusivity, I thought sizing. But I see what you mean. Specifically in the UK or just in general?
I would say we could say UK.
Okay. I'd probably say on the higher end of fashion, like high-end fashion, I'll probably say it needs to be more inclusive.
Okay.
Because you always just hear stories, just every now and again, of some issue coming up, whether, let's say, pertaining to maybe race. I feel like sizing-wise, that issue has been covered, and clearly we see a lot more, let's say, for example, plus-size models being used. On, let's say, the more streetwear side, I feel like it is very inclusive, because it's kind of like, especially, let's say, London-based brands, it's like a melting pot here. So you kind of don't really have much option other than to be inclusive, let's say, race-wise. But in general, I don't feel like inclusivity is a problem per se, at least from the kind of space that my brand operates in.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it as a problem. But yeah, I don't feel like it's in a bad place, I guess. But probably on the high end brands, probably there are issues that need to be addressed.
Yeah.
What would you say yourself?
I would say prior to now, because I do see a lot of inclusivity when it comes to whether it be the race topic or just different cultures. I think now when I see brands like Seventh, Tolu, Coca, Wells Bonner, Bianca Sanders, like these are all amazing brands that are literally like paving the way, especially being known in the industry. I think that's a different caliber. You know, I think it's one thing to have a business, but it's another thing to be recognized by, let's say, British Fashion Council, even in other countries like Paris. Like, I think to have that kind of notoriety, obviously you're not seeking it for any kind of like approval, but to be in the fashion industry, especially if you are these types of brands, you need to be recognized by the people at the top, if you get what I mean. I think the UK is doing a lot better with that, in opportunities that are being given, in the different like schemes that they have for young up and coming designers. So I wouldn't say we necessarily have a problem or that it's bad regarding inclusivity, but I think we're getting to a point where it's not just, oh, we need to, you know, do something about race in the fashion industry. So like people are actively doing things now. And I think in 2020 it was a lot of conversation but less action. Whereas now there's a lot of action, and, you know, people are literally just learning as they go. So yeah.
Okay. Just a side note, like how you mentioned, let's say, British Fashion Council. Would you say, like, for example, let's say with your brand, would you try to get the validation? I know validation is such a like heavy word, but would you, like, let's say, want to get their validation? Is that something you're working towards?
I wouldn't say it's something I'm working towards. It's something that I recognize exists. So I think it's not being ignorant to the fact that like these higher up people exist for a reason. And I think for me, my motto is practically like respecting the traditions of your industry, but then at the same time doing what you need to do as somebody paving a completely new path. If you do get recognized by them, that's great. But it's not something that when I'm working on my stuff, I'm like, oh, I need to make sure I do this so that the British Fashion Council, if they're doing that, like I need to be here. It's not that. It's like at the end of the day, you will recognize at some point. When you do, it doesn't add nor does it take away from what I'm currently doing, in as much as in the physical it will do that if I'm like on one of their schemes or something. But yeah, I wouldn't say I'm actively pursuing their recognition, but when it comes, I won't be surprised. But then I'll just continue to go. I
feel you. Like similar with me, like I don't know, I feel like in a way, even though I respect it and everything, I don't care for it. So I guess I didn't come in, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, like I didn't come in the traditional route. So it's like, it doesn't mean much to me. It means so much more to me to make noise on the streets,
right,
so to speak, you know.
That's
but
good
and to
quote.
connect with actual people, because I want to go out and see people physically
Right.
wearing my clothes out, and I want to have I want to go down a similar path as I've seen other big streetwear brands that they also didn't come down similar. They came down similar routes. Like they didn't, let's say they didn't go to fashion school, they didn't do like degrees or something like that in fashion. They just kind of tried a thing and like here they are now, and to the point where they made so much noise that they had to be acknowledged. If you get what I mean, like that's the avenue I see myself down, because I don't wanna pander to people, if that makes sense. Like I just want to be authentic to myself and to the people I'm speaking to, and when I make enough noise, you'll recognize and you'll look back and you say, oh, I see what they've been doing and I understand the journey, and then they'll tag along.
Yeah. Just something to add to what you said. Like I was smiling when just like hearing you say that, because I was deeping Virgil Abloh, like how he didn't study fashion, but just how he came into the fashion industry with Off-White. Like he's literally my go-to person. Obviously he's not with us anymore, but that's a man I really respect in my industry. Like I know there's other designers, and I know different people relate to other like designers who were in the industry, went the traditional route. But for me, just watching Virgil's journey was just like, this is who I am. I'm not taking the traditional route, but then at the same time, he was able to be the creative director of Louis Vuitton. Like, how does that happen? Yeah. Because he was different and because he had a narrative to display. So, yeah, I like that you touched on that.
Yeah, thank you. If you can make one change to the fashion industry, what would it be?
The change I would make, okay, practically, internships. Like when you're on an internship, well, when I was doing internships, it was practically like you're working for free or travel would be covered. Like I definitely understand your learning. But then I also think that if you've done like 1 or 2 years in university for fashion, like you should be able to get paid a certain amount for the work that you're doing. But I also do understand why they operate the way they do now. And I think some brands are starting to implement paying their interns. And I genuinely believe like those brands that are now doing that, they're young designers, but that's because of their own experiences with free internships. I think if there's a way that the system can change where, yes, you are being paid to learn, regardless of the level that you're at, I think labor and the work that you're doing should kind of be like reciprocated in a way. But yeah, I would say, yeah, because that's a very big topic in the industry when it comes to internships and like the long hours and yeah, like you're not getting paid for it, you know? But that doesn't negate the fact that it has helped a lot of people, including myself, when it comes to just skills and knowledge, and having genuine people who could teach you. So I would say that would be one change that I would make. Like, obviously, brands doing amazing to the point where they can pay their interns even though they're learning. So yeah.
I would say, at least in my kind of sector, I don't feel like there's anything to change, particularly because it seems like there's no rules. Like we're just kind of doing whatever we want. But in the typical like fashion industry, I think probably one thing that should change is, especially in the time that we're in, is to respect the people who are kind of doing it themselves and going about it alone. Respect them more.
Yeah.
Because essentially they are doing what the bigger brands are doing, just on a smaller scale. And if you think about, let's say, how much noise they're making, maybe how much revenue, how much like orders that they're getting and all of that. If you think about it, for maybe one person or a small team to do that compared to huge like corporations, it's actually crazy.
Yeah.
Because huge corporations could have hundreds or thousands of employees. Obviously, it's not to the same scale, but it's like, it's still very impactful what the smaller brands are doing. So I feel like the bigger brands need to respect the smaller brands, and possibly, if it makes sense business wise, and I guess like the journey and the vision wise, probably collaborations.
Yeah.
Like for example, how we saw a couple of years ago how Louis Vuitton collaborated with Supreme. And I think of recent, Gucci's collaborated with Palace. So things like that is a good situation, because it's like it shows that they're looking at smaller brands. But then even I feel like even smaller brands they should possibly be looking at, because there's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of drive. There's a lot of passion there that possibly people in the big corporations they don't have. They're just there for the money, or they're there for the name, or whatever the case may be, rather than the love for the game. If you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So what can we expect to see from you in the future?
What can we expect? Well, you can expect more fashion shows from Amarachi and Dolo. Like I said, big production. Working with a team of creative people that I call family and understand creating a masterpiece. What else can you see in the future? Storytelling that not just myself, storytelling that not just myself I'm able to communicate, but others who are wearing the garments are able to be like, this is how I feel in this garment, and I understand the narrative of it. Yeah, I would say that in the long and short of things.
Okay. For myself, maybe like short films as part of like the advertising of releasing a product. As well as just doubling down constantly on the content, because it's like the content is what can sell your product. Like you can have a great product, but if it's not shot correctly, or probably not the right model, or whatever the case may be, it may not move. But so then it's like that content that will really convince someone, like, oh my days, like this is sick, like this is incredible, like I need it. So just like doubling down on that, short films, and just, I guess, as well as doubling, you know what, one thing that I've been doing recently is doubling down on the avenue that I'm in. For example, the Christian avenue, because it's like I've tried to kind of divert and do, it's not like fully divert, but do things that are like, oh yeah, I want to tap into this market. Let me try steer away a little bit, not fully, but just a little bit. And it's like, it hasn't gone as well. But then as soon as I came back, or like as soon as I just felt God tell me to feed his sheep, fed them, and then it went off. So it's like, let me really double down on where I am and not run away from it. Let me just stay where I am and let God do what he needs to do where I am.
This is WMTV, and thank you for watching Ready to Talk.
Was there a moment for you that kind of switched where you were like, okay, like I want to have my own brand, and I want people to buy into what I'm making? Was there like a moment, or like something that just switched?
Well, I mean, who doesn't want to be famous?